Our first speaker will be Dr. Nguyen, also Dr. Chu Nguyen. He will speak on gender economic inequality in Vietnam. And he has research and he has earned the MA in economics, an MS in mathematics, and a PhD in monetary and financial economics, completely supported by Charles Taft Fellowship in the University of Cincinnati. He is the former professor of economics and finance, chairman of the FAMIS department, and director of the Office of Research Report. He is also the head of the Economic Analysis and Forecast Department at the 5th District of the Federal Home and Loan Bank System. He has published over 90 research papers in reputable U.S. and international academic journals and a book. Please welcome Dr. Chu Nguyen.
Good morning. Do you guys see my PowerPoint on the screen? Hello?
Well, we have not.
Is there
You
any
want
way,
to
and
take?
can you get it up for me, please?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I'm. This is an honor to be here. Uh, Let me get my PowerPoint up. Is it up?
Please give us another minute. Could you keep talking and begin your presentation, and we will have it up momentarily?
Okay. Okay, that's good. Okay. Uh, okay. Uh, It is an honor to be here to speak on the gender economic inequality in Vietnam. Like most people, I am always short of money and time, so I will. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, please go
Okay.
ahead with your
Okay.
with
Okay.
your
Okay.
speech. We can hear
Uh,
you.
as always, as like most other people, I always am short of money and time. So I will briefly present a hypothesis on root causes of the disadvantages and cite some data to support this conjecture. There's a great deal more of data which I cannot review in this time frame. So a gender economic gap is one of the four components of the global gender gap, which is an international phenomenon. It's happened everywhere, not only in Vietnam. In 2006, the World Economic Forum has calculated and introduced a concept called Global Gender Gap Index, known as GGGI, and introduced as a benchmark progress towards gender parity. So annually, a GGGI is calculated based on the data across four dimensions: economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. By 2022, the global gender gap has been closed by 68.1%, which still leave us with a gap of 31.9%. Look at it at the current recent rate of progress. It is estimated it will take another 132 32 years, another 3 or 4 generations for us to reach the full parity. So this presentation is based on the comparison of information on the Vietnamese gender economic gap to those in the GGGI to evaluate the reported economic inequality of women in Vietnam. So here is the some selected data on the international as well as some regional areas about the gender gap. Um, that's I don't know if you see. Can you get it up for me, or I have to continue to talk here? Hello, hello. Hello?
Yes, Dr. Chu, did you
Yeah.
ask a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. 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 The problem is we don't have a PowerPoint up. So, but anyways, in this report, I'm going to select it. I'm going to provide some selected data on the international community as well as some country where the information where the gender gap is very good and some is very bad. So first, I reported the gender gap for the sub uh, component for economics, education, health, and political empowerment, and the overall index. So for the globals, the sub-index for economic opportunity was 60.3 for education for the international community as a whole. The index is 94.4. The health, the sub-index is 95.8, and political empowerment is 22.0, and the gender gap index for 2022 for the international community is 68.1. For Vietnam, the sub-index for economic opportunity is 75.1. That ranked Vietnam to be number 31st out of 146 country reported. And for the gender gap index for Vietnam, it was 70.5, ranked Vietnam number 83. And also the country like Iceland, Finland, Norway, New Zealand, and Switzerland are those five countries have the highest index, meaning lowest gap. The country, five countries, Chad, Iran, Congo, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, are those countries that have the lowest index, therefore the highest gap in the international community. As to a Vietnam historical ranking, the 2016 economic opportunity index sub-index ranked Vietnam number 33rd out of 156. 2022, Vietnam was ranked number 31st out of 146. Recent study and survey by international institutions have pointed out achievement and progress in closing gender gap in many areas, and some prominent areas that women participation in labor force, women economic contribution to the economy, low restriction on women freedom of movement, decision to run the business, own the property, and so forth. However, the International Labor Organization research have reviewed that despite of the reported achievement and progress above, the Vietnamese economies remain a gender structure as women face consistent formal and societal barriers. I provide here some example of those areas that we have a problem with. Other study also show that serious biases against women's status in the economy. Some of the pressing issue is that the women have faced multiple and persistent inequality. The tax law and the social insurance law and enterprise law is in fact is, biased against women and so forth. So with all the data, what conclusion can we draw out of this? The first conclusion that we can draw is that the gender inequality in the labor market in Vietnam can be traced back to the traditional roles that women are expected to play, perpetuated by both social norms as well as by the country legislation. The Vietnamese authority has maintained and used these social norms and legal system to advance its self-serving objective to exploit women. By doing so, they hinder the women advancement. In today's age of globalization and international post-truth society, the U.S. and Western policymakers, by and large, have considered the current international, regional, geopolitical, and domestic socio-economic reality, as well as political situation, to make certain assumptions and conclusions about these matters. However, due to the extremely complex and paradoxical nature of these matter, policymakers often have to accept a second best solution to some constituent matter to achieve overall desired short-run foreign policy objective. Unfortunately, the actual outcome of successive short-run policy determine the actuality of the long-run foreign policy. The Vietnamese authority maintain traditional norms, insufficiency in childcare, lack of maternity protection. Furthermore, business dealing by small and medium firms contribute to gender economic inequality and other problems in Vietnam, which is detrimental to economic opportunity for women. The unfortunate situation is that the issue are deeply rooted in the Vietnamese culture and must be changed if want to to significantly advance gender economic inequality in Vietnam. Also, the communist government allow officials to use social norm to circumvent the legal system to extract illegal benefit not only for themselves but also for their interest group. This results in gender economic inequality gap that is an integral part of the broader human right violation. The current anti-corruption campaign known as Burning Furnace, initiated by Mr. Zhang, the General Secretary of the Communist Party, review episodes of corruption causing trillions of dollars damages to the country by many high-ranking Communist Party members who were appointed by the party through its deployment of human resources process and remove them some with capital punishment. However, if we look into the situation, you will find that their replacement would be subject to the same rewards, punishment, inducement, and condition will therefore follow the footstep, namely continue to corrupt. We know very well that if the system is not changed, the behavior of people in the system cannot be changed either. So old face, new wine measure will never work. Additionally, the country data maintained and used by international institutions are provided by member countries, especially the communist country. Therefore, the data may not be reliable. More importantly, the reported achievement and progress reported here were based on the data provided by the Vietnamese government, which are unlikely reliable. Finally, geopolitically, Vietnam play a very important role in the stability of the Asian Pacific region, and the Vietnamese population in general is more pro-US than others in this part of the globe. A friendlier Vietnamese government would significantly help the US counter the CCCP and maintain the Pac Americana in the Asian Pacific. So what the U.S. government had to do and what we had to do, I think that the U.S. government should not look into Vietnam through a American culture lenses. Instead, they should seek to understand the Vietnamese culture, traditional norms, and their attendant behaviors and hidden agenda in dealing with the Vietnamese Communist Party and Vietnamese government. This will help result in improving the Vietnamese socio-economic and political condition, including gender, economic inequality, and more productive U.S.-Vietnam relation in almost all aspects. Thank you. I'm sorry for missing the slide.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, for your insights and your research, and I apologize for the technical difficulties.